Q&A, or this is whatever we want it to be.
Awesome. So one of the things that we always have at events is extra product information for people, or a place where you can ask questions, because we have a lot of information online, but it's very different looking on a computer or listening to a telephone conference call and sitting with people and being able to ask questions, right? So this is a chance for any of you who have questions about the products, and there's no such thing as a silly question. There's no such thing as, you know, an insignificant question. So every question is appropriate. Every question helps everybody. So I guess we'll just start right in and throw it open. Okay, Jaylen, you were the first one.
So there's all this stigma about taurine and stuff coming from bowls, and so can you address that? I have people saying, oh, it has taurine in it. Taurine and fructose, both of those.
Okay, and just
I'm sorry,
so that you don't hear in the chaos gold.
Right.
Yeah. Is that? I'll let you, because you really researched.
Will you repeat the questions as they're asked?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So the question is, there's a lot of bad press out there about taurine and about and about fructose. And there's a lot of mythological stories that are being created out there about the origins of taurine and all kinds of weird stuff that I've seen on the internet. So let's start from base level here. Taurine is an amino acid. It is part of protein. Proteins are made up of amino acids, and one of those amino acids is taurine. Taurine is something we need. Every single cell of our body needs it every day. It's basic, fundamental food for our body. And a lot of the bad press that I've seen out there is stuff that actually doesn't make sense to me, because of all of the bad press about energy drinks and, you know, how bad they are for you and all of this. It's almost like all of the ingredients get lumped in together and people go, oh, if that's in there, it must be bad for you, don't drink that, without actually understanding what is this thing, right? So one of the things that, you know, we know as basic nutrition is that protein contains amino acids. You know, if you break protein down in a lab and look at it under a microscope, it's all these different combinations of amino acids, right? There are two groups of amino acids, one called essential amino acids, which is that they're essential to get in your diet every day because your body can't make them. We have to have them if we're going to be healthy. And then there's another group, which is what we call the non-essential amino acids. And they can only be created if we have the full spectrum of the other ones. Otherwise, we are deficient. And that is actually, I mean, I won't go into this right now, but that's one of the fundamental things that produce depression, anxiety, a whole lot of stuff that we see in epidemic proportions out here is because of amino acid deficiency. So, coming back to taurine, everything I've read that is on the internet about taurine and how bad it is totally made up and makes no sense to me. simply because I understand what taurine is. And it doesn't come from bull testicles, I'm sorry. I read that, and that's where Red Bull got its name from. I mean, like, somebody's had great fun with a lot of this stuff.
Wow.
But that is not correct. Taurine actually comes together when you put two mineral salts together. It creates taurine. So it's this fundamental, simple food that we need every day on a daily basis.
And I'm sure many of you have found that, the majority of people that drink energy drinks aren't that concerned about the ingredients if they're drinking energy drinks. And I'm just so happy that we have an opportunity to educate people and to give them a healthier version of what they're already doing, so that they can be healthier, because there are some very scary energy drinks out there, and we personally know people that have ended up in the hospital and actually fatalities from really overdoing the energy drinks. And so we can really focus on what a wonderful substitute this is with healthy ingredients.
Yeah, and most of what Penny's just been talking about, what my understanding of where that comes from is a combination of huge amounts of caffeine and sugar. Sugar is the big one. Massive amounts of sugar. When it's put together with the caffeine and the chemicals, you have like this chemical soup that is highly, highly toxic. Taurine actually has nothing to do with that piece of it. It just happens to be an ingredient in energy drinks. So, the other thing that you asked about was the fructose. There is a big difference between something called high fructose corn syrup, which is what most people see as fructose. And that stuff is deadly. You don't want to go anywhere near it or have it anywhere near your body. This is not that. What we have in Chaos Gold is pure fruit sugar. It's the real fructose. It comes from real fruit. It's the pure fruit sugar from fruit. That's what that fructose is. So the misunderstanding often comes from people who are used to fructose being high fructose, high. Thank you.
Fructose
the other
corn
one.
syrup.
Fructose corn syrup. Thank you. And because that's what's prevalent in pretty much everything else.
In all drinks.
In all drinks.
And the other thing with high fructose corn syrup is it's all GMO. And in our product, there is nothing GMO.
Woo! So, yeah. So, Jaylee, does that address your questions?
I just also wanted this on tape, hoping that we could break this down, because I feel like this is really good for other people asking us.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely, yeah. And for those of you that haven't already seen it, I wrote out a one-page sheet of all of the ingredients in Chaos Gold and the beneficial actions of those ingredients on our body, and it's on the We Are Winners site under the products.
Where is that?
It's under products.
On Team Crown?
Yeah,
We Are Winners.
We Are Winners. Team Crown is now We Are Winners. It's interchangeable. Yeah.
And thank you for that.
Yeah,
Very
you're
nice.
welcome. Yeah. Christine.
I wanted to ask about the other elephant in the room, and that's iodine in body guns.
Mm-hmm.
I know what is good, but I want to make sure everybody else knows, because iodine got a bad rap there for a while, which it didn't deserve. So could you please explain why we need iodine, why it's so important, and how we get it in body gun?
Okay. Yeah. Well, so, you know, that's so sad that iodine has gotten such a bad rap, because it is an essential mineral. It's one of those minerals that if we don't have it, you can die. It's the reason they started iodizing salt, because people were getting goiters from iodine deficiency. And, you know, the problem with iodine comes when you're not taking it in balance with all of the other minerals. And so the real beauty and blessing of body balance to our bodies is that we are getting every single nutrient, and especially the minerals that we need, but they're not in large amounts. It's almost homeopathic. It's the way they occur in nature, and they are in balance with all of the other minerals. They are self-regulating, and your body is going to use that iodine along with all the other minerals in a way that keeps you very, very healthy and balanced. And so without it, you can die. Now, there is something called Hashimoto's, and that's where a lot of the advice from a lot of people not to do any iodine has come from. And a lot of even natural practitioners were using very large amounts of iodine for their patients because it has so many wonderful benefits. And with Hashimoto's, you know, they recognize that the body doesn't use iodine in the same way. And what's happened is this pendulum has kind of swung way over here to where people are saying if you have that autoimmune disease, you don't want any iodine. Well, it's coming back because we absolutely need that as an essential mineral. And, you know, after, you know, maybe an initial period, you absolutely need to get the balanced iodine back into your system. And I don't know if you might have anything else to add to that.
That thyroid, people recommended not to have iodine if they have thyroid problems. Can you explain that?
And that's the autoimmune.
Yeah.
Hashimoto's is a thyroid.
The only contraindication for body balance, which is our major source of iodine, is somebody that has a condition called hyperthyroidism. And that's when the thyroid gland is overactive. Again, it's not across the board. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's body responds in a different way. I've actually had people who were hyper take body balance, and it actually balanced them out.
Yeah.
However, when people have a hyperthyroid condition, they can be extremely sensitive to iodine. So you have to be very, very careful. And most people who have a condition like that are under a physician, and so we need to respect that, and we need to respect that relationship. There's a difference, a huge difference, between hyperthyroidism, which is actually not very common, and hypothyroidism, which is extremely common, and which actually is the body's crying out for iodine. So they're two very different things. And, you know, Christine just said an interesting thing. When someone has a thyroid condition, there are many different thyroid conditions, and they present in many different ways. So just because someone has a thyroid condition doesn't mean that, you know, oh, they can't take this, because it could be this is what they absolutely are craving. So one of the things about body balance that I love, and you just said it so beautifully, is that in 16 years of recommending body balance to people, that is the only condition I have ever found that body balance may be contraindicated.
And you know, just to add, if you look at almost any preventive medicine or natural healing book under thyroid, one of the recommendations is for sea vegetables, because it's really one of the best and most natural sources of the iodine?
Because iodine, see iodine, in order to get iodine into the body, it's not easy. It's not easy with our normal regular diet. Because iodine has to be in the soil like everything else, right? That our plants grow in, that we eat, or that the animals eat the plants, so it has to be in the soil to start with. And most people don't fertilize their soil with seaweed, especially the big commercial farms. And so the iodine, along with a lot of other things, is missing, which, like Penny said, is why they started iodizing salt, table salt. So the deficiency of iodine is massive. And one of the things that happens when we are deficient in iodine is we cannot produce adequate hormones. And it really affects our hormonal system. It can completely throw it way out of whack. And so, and the body uses it for so many different things. Thyroxine, which is the major thyroid hormone, is actually created from iodine. Iodine is the food for the thyroid hormone. Without it, our bodies literally start not being able to function properly. Yes?
Can I add a little? I've had thyroid cancer, and probably 10 years ago, this would have been maybe a balance, because I've been blessed. I only have one vocal cord. But I went through treatment with radioactive iodine, because it goes right to the thyroid.
Right.
And the cancer, it depends. I have to have a balance. If I have too much iodine, the cancer comes back. I've been through about 4 or 5 treatments.
Wow.
So, it will grow again. Mm-hmm. So then you have to go hypothyroid. Mm-hmm. So I never knew all this, before.
Yeah, interesting. So you've been through all of that. That's quite a journey.
Yeah. Really, what is the very most important thing is the way the minerals are balanced in food. Mm-hmm. That's what makes all the difference. When we take isolated nutrients with anything that's in a large amount, it can actually, flood the cell receptors and create imbalances. And so that's the blessing. We really don't have to be concerned when we're taking body balance, because we are really getting those minerals in nature's perfect balance. All of them. It is amazing. Yeah.
I have a question related to thyroid too. My mom takes levothyroxine, and I don't know if it's hyper or hypo, but I'm going to assume it's hypo.
Hypo.
And she, on the bottle, it says you're not supposed to take calcium within 4 hours of taking the levothyroxine. And she doesn't want to do anything more than twice a day. So she takes the body balance in the morning, and she's not taking osteopro-care because the levothyroxine said no calcium. Is that okay? I mean, should she not take it? What should she? She doesn't want to take it in the evening. She's not going to do it.
So
she only wants to do
what
one
is your question?
thing in the morning. So can she take the osteopro-care like half an hour after the levothyroxine or not?
I'm not aware of that contraindication, but if she's being told,
The bottle says that.
the bottle says 4 hours, I would wait 4 hours and then take it.
Okay.
She can take osteopro-care after lunch if she
She's
takes
not-
that in the morning, then 4 hours later, or
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's probably just because some things bind with other things, and it would make the medication less effective. So,
Okay.
but it's not because there's anything inherent in the minerals.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Krista, with body balance being made of seaweed, which is a big green leafy vegetable, if someone is on a blood thinner and are told to avoid that, is body balance recommended or not?
So the question was, if somebody is on a blood thinner, can they take body balance? The fact is that most seaweed is not green leafy vegetables. Most seaweed comes in 3 different families: green, brown, and red, and most of them are actually brown. So the amount of vitamin K, which is what is considered the contraindication when it comes to something like Coumadin or whatever. The level of vitamin K in Body Balance is extremely low. There's virtually none in there. It's very, very, very little, micro amount. They would get way more in whatever else they were eating during the day.
Thank you.
You might also find that sometimes they will recommend not to do certain sea vegetables because they can actually heal and have the same function. They have the same properties as Coumadin in preventing clots. And so one of the things that I usually recommend if people are on it is to be conservative in the amount. I might not have somebody that's on Coumadin, you know, even though they might have a lot of challenges and might need a loading dose, or you might want to put them on 8 ounces. You know, if you stay 2 to 4 ounces, then they're not going to get too much of anything. They're just going to get the benefit.
I also just want to say that everything we're saying in here, if somebody is under the care of a physician, that is their primary source of what to do.
Yes.
And we cannot contraindicate that. That is not our job. Yeah.
I've had some people have a concern about the radiation in the oceans and how it affects sea vegetables. So do you know anything about that in regards to where we harvest our sea vegetables?
I just love our company.
I know.
Because, you know, in response to that, we started, of course, that started to be a concern. And so we, not only do our sea vegetables come from Nova Scotia, which is way on the other side from the west coast where most of the concern is, but of course everywhere in the ocean it's a concern. But now every batch of the sea vegetables are tested. And they actually, if anybody doesn't know, they actually added that to the Body Balance sheet on the Life Force website, the statement that every batch of sea vegetables is tested for radiation. And if any of you also haven't ever really gone into the products and looked at the quality assurance statement, I love that statement. It really talks about just how highly tested our products are. Those sea vegetables are tested before they come into the country. They're tested here as well. Plus, every batch of Body Balance is tested in the beginning, the middle, and the end. So we are really protected by their quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In energy drinks, a lot of people say, oh, I can't take it because I'm on heart medicine. Or the other day I heard someone say, I can't take it because if it has pineapple in it, then pineapple does something with my heart. So is there any...
Okay, so everyone's going to have their own quirky stuff.
Right.
Well, and you know, that might not be quirky because if they are a heart patient, their doctor specifically may have told them,
yeah,
don't drink energy drinks.
Of course.
And, you know, the traditional energy drinks, I mean, that's good that they're concerned and that they're not looking at it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually ask people, can you drink a cup of coffee? If you can drink a cup of coffee, you can have this. If you have been told not to drink coffee, then I would say Chaos Gold is not for you.
Yeah, that's a great marker.
Yeah, I've had some people say that they're like allergic to caffeine, or it just doesn't do well on their
Yeah, so
body.
Chaos Gold's not for them. That's
Exactly.
fine. Not everything is for everybody. We know that.
Yeah, and I'd say if they're having a health challenge, you might want to direct them toward Body Balance.
Say, well, we have something.
We have something
exactly.
that would help them.
Yep.
Or the truth is, if
Yeah,
you're looking for some
sure.
energy, that's
Yeah.
I just wanted
AJ.
to add to that, John. My father is technically in congestive heart failure. He's been on blood thinners, mainly Coumadin, since probably his 20s. He's 67 now. He's been taking Body Balance for about a year. He started out with 2 ounces, and he's been taking 4 ounces for the past 6 months, and he's thriving. Never looked better, so.
Lovely, thank you. Nancy.
You know what I wanted to ask Kurt, or you guys, I mean, my mom has COPD, and she's stubborn. She just is. But how did you get maybe someone who was like that and convince them that try body balance? I mean,
Everyone's going to have their own answer to that question.
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, how do you get somebody who's really close to you, who's really stubborn, to drink Body Balance? And
Yeah, let us know when you figure that out.
yeah,
Away.
okay, Cindy, go.
Take it away from them. Don't, like, absolutely take it away. And the more I took it away, the more they became interested. Because it's when I'm pushing that's where the resistance is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Susie's had experience with this with her own family, lots of them. And when you actually take it away from them, like, no, this is not for you. No, you can't have a taste. No, you can't borrow it. That's when they want it.
That's great. That's good.
And they're watching you
Get better.
get better, yes, but also in your commitment. And because the longer you stay in, the more success you're having, which means the more people lives you're changing. And then there will be some that will never, and that's totally fine.
And you
right?
have to be okay with that.
Yeah, you really have to be okay with that.
You know, we have had, I mean, I know in our group, we have had people with COPD that have had great results. And when it is a mom or somebody you love, you want to do everything you can. So another suggestion, sometimes when it's your own family, they're like, what do you know, So you can always do a three-way call and just say, you can say no, but would you just do a call with this, person who has a nutrition background? I just would like you to hear some information before you make your decision. Because sometimes you just have to bring somebody else in that they will see as more of an expert and listen to.
that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
And liquid stories too is really great too.
Yeah.
There's probably even some COPD stories on there.
Yep.
And I love Christa and Michael's story about sneaking it in the tea.
Stick it in.
And Michael's mother.
Oh, orange juice.
Oh,
Yes.
whatever. Another drink. Just put it in anyway. So
Right, yeah, we did do that. Yeah. Somebody, Nancy, you had your hand up.
Yes, the caffeine, when you're talking about the caffeine, did I hear you say at one time that the caffeine in coffee has a different reaction in the body, or the caffeine?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say something? Will you talk about that?
Yeah. Okay. So, when somebody drinks a cup of coffee, and there's a certain amount of caffeine in there, anywhere from 100 to 300 milligrams, whatever it is, and what people are getting when they drink that is a very different product than what they get when they drink something like Chaos Gold. So when we say there is the same amount of caffeine in Chaos Gold as there is in a normal cup of coffee, what that means is all of the ingredients in Chaos Gold that are stimulating, when you put all of those ingredients together, this is what it equates to. So we have yerba mate, which actually contains something called matine, which is it's a close family of caffeine, and it has a stimulating effect on the system in a very different way to caffeine. We have guarana, which contains something called guaranamine. Again, a similar family to caffeine, but a very different response in the body. Cola nut, same thing. So there's these different ingredients in there that contain stimulating phytochemicals that when you put all of these things together, it equates to the equivalent of 120 milligrams thereabouts of caffeine. And a lot of people don't differentiate between guaranine and matine and cholamine and all of the other means and lump them all in together and say it's caffeine. So that's one piece of the story. What you get when you drink something like Chaos Gold with all of those things in there is that you're getting, similar to what Penny described with Body Balance, what we're getting is that phytochemical with all of what we call cofactors, all of the other pieces of the plant material that our bodies need to properly process that. When you drink a cup of coffee, the coffee beans have been roasted, they've been put through chemical processes, all kinds of stuff has been done to that coffee bean. So basically you're getting pretty pure caffeine with none of the phytochemicals. And when you cook caffeine, its action on the body is entirely different. You can drink green coffee, completely different thing in the body than roasted coffee. The impact on the system is entirely different. So when you drink a cup of coffee, the amount of caffeine in there is highly acidic, number one. It impacts the liver in ways that are pretty unhealthy. A certain amount of caffeine is actually quite healthy because it's stimulating to the system, and most systems need stimulating. But it's the amount that people drink that makes it like way unhealthy, right? Our bodies can deal with a certain amount of acidity. Our livers can deal with a certain amount of needing to flush stuff through, right? But it's because of the incredible amount that people drink. So when we drink a cup of coffee, the primary meeting point of that caffeine is our central nervous system. That's what impacts, that's what meets the caffeine first, if you will. And that feeds into the adrenal glands. And so basically what happens, we get adrenal overload. So we get rushes of adrenaline, we get rushes of cortisol, which are not very healthy for us over a long period of time. With Chaos Gold, what happens is it's a very different kind of energy. So the ingredients in Chaos Gold actually work with the cells of the body that produce something called ATP. And ATP is our body's primary source of energy. That's what our body's innate energy is called ATP. It's produced by our cells. And so these phytochemicals, phytonutrients in the plants, in the herbs that are in Chaos Gold, enhance the body's own production of ATP. So it's a very different way of energizing the body. There are also what we call tonics. And so they do other things in the body as well. So a tonic is something that ups the ante in terms of how our bodies work and how our immune system works. They also feed oxygen into the lungs, the blood vessels, and the brain. So there's all these other things that these phytonutrients do that you don't get from cup of coffee. So does that answer your question?
Thank you. I'll also mention too that everything Christa just explained about the caffeine in the Chaos Gold also applies to the caffeine in our metabolism booster.
Yes.
Because as well, that's coming from the raw green coffee bean, the green tea, the healthier alternatives.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I have kind of, if there's such a word as addicted, become addicted to the metabolism booster.
Anita, I have a question about what are the differences between Ditch the Can Energy, Chaos Gold, and True Boost? How do they react differently? Can I take them both in the same day? What's different?
Great question. Okay, so
Repeat the question.
Okay, so the question is, what is the difference between Chaos Gold and True Boost? So we have another product called True Boost. What is the difference, and how do they, react in the body, and can I take them both in the same day? Completely different products. You want to talk a little bit about that?
You go ahead.
Okay. All right. So
add in.
all right. So you've heard a bit about Chaos Gold, right? Yeah. So True Boost is a very different animal, plant. Thing. So what True Boost does is that in some ways it's a misnomer. It is a true boost, but not in an energy way like we've been talking about. So it's kind of a counteractive product, if you will. So because of our lifestyle, because of drinking a lot of coffee, because of stress, because of, all of the stuff that most people do in their lives, our adrenals are overloaded all the time. See, our adrenals are meant to serve us. So when you walk out into a street and there's a big semi-trailer bearing down on you, your adrenals kick in and go, get out of here quick, right? And you get an adrenaline rush to move you. So that's your adrenals serving you. What they're not meant to do is to do that all the time. And that's what we have now, is a world where people's adrenals are constantly firing all the time to the point where we don't even know they're on.
Right. Not just from caffeine or other things, but just from stress. Just from our daily go, 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 go lifestyles.
Yep, absolutely. And so one of the other hormones that our adrenals produce is not just adrenaline. Adrenaline is the one we feel. The other one that we don't actually feel is something called cortisol. And most people's cortisol levels are through the roof. And what cortisol does is it prematurely ages us. So it starts breaking down our bodies, very literally. So where True Boost comes in is basically, it is designed to counteract all of that. So it's designed to lower cortisol levels, to actually increase a hormone called DHEA, which is our mother hormone. Because see, when you're dealing with hormones, adrenaline is a hormone, cortisol is a hormone. When you're dealing with hormones, you're not just dealing with one thing, you're dealing with a whole family. And so when one thing is out of balance, then everything else is out of balance. We have to bring them all back into balance somehow, right? And so that's one of the primary functions of True Boost, is to actually do that. And it does somewhat energize the body in a different way, because the herbs that are in there are primarily what we call Ayurvedic herbs. And so they have a tonifying, tonic effect on the body. So the energy is usually pretty subtle, but what it does, the True Boost, is that it allows our body to re-regulate so that we can get our own energy back. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I can feel it.
They're also the herbs ashwagandha and tulsi or holy basil. Many naturopathic doctors will recommend ashwagandha to actually help heal the adrenals. And both of those primary ingredients are what we call adaptogens. And body balance is an adaptogen as well. I love the benefits of adaptogens in our bodies because what they do is they affect the systems of the body, the cardiovascular, the hormone system, and if something's too high, it'll lower it. If something's too low, it'll bring it up. So I think we can absolutely benefit from getting these adaptogens in our body every day, and as well as the D-potassium glucarate that really helps to detox fatty toxins from our system and our liver. So TrueBoost is awesome. It's got a lot of benefits to it. And as well as Christa mentioned the cortisol, and the cortisol is one of the hormones that really keeps visceral belly fat on us. And so we've seen a lot of people when they were doing a TrueBoost every day to actually get rid of that as well. Yep.
I have a question about the TrueBoost real quick.
Yeah.
Is it meant to be an everyday thing, or if I'm having a particularly stressful day, can I just take one and it'll have effect, or is it like a long term?
It's either or both. The question was, is it just a once a day thing, or is it just a once when you feel like it thing? And it's really both. It's up to you. It's what your body needs, what your body wants. It's not, if you just drink one when you feel you need it, it will absolutely benefit you. For people that have a stressful lifestyle, I would recommend they do it every day. But, it's a personal thing.
Okay, thanks.
So it is okay to do the TrueBoost and the Chaos Gold?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the Tesla's just support the whole lot.
Yep. Yes, all of the products that we have, there's no products here that if you take that, you can't take that. They all work together. So we're good, whatever. Cindy, you had.
They work together. We always say, though, I just want to say that body balance is really the foundation.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
when your cells have absolutely everything that they need, then everything else that you take is going to work more efficiently, carry through your body more efficiently, and so you always want the foundation before you add the others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just in response to Wendy's question, because you're new, I'm not sure you're aware, there was a double-blind test done on TrueBoost. And it was 2 TrueBoost a day for 60 days, and it lowered people's cortisol by 25%. And there were other statistics in that, and I can't quote the other statistics, but that's the big one.
Awesome.
It made people less irritable, but it was over 60 days.
Yeah. It also reduced C-reactive protein, which is a marker for inflammation, and it raised the DHEA that Christa was talking about for the hormones.
Yeah.
Since we covered nearly all our energy products, can you say how Sunbright is yet another difference? Because I love that.
Okay.
We have choices, don't we?
We have so many choices. Oh my gosh, are we so blessed?
Our own herbalist and product formulator.
So she might know something about it.
She might know something about that.
All right, so the question is, can we talk about Sunbright? Yes, absolutely. So for those of you not familiar with Sunbright, it's a combination of different herbs and amino acids, and very particular amino acids. So when we look at the workings of the human body, every single thing that goes on in our body, everything, requires amino acids. They are the bedrock of every single function. And basically what happens, and I'm being very basic here, what happens is we take in protein in whatever way, and the body breaks that protein down into all these amino acids, and then, depending on the function that it needs those amino acids for, it puts together different combinations to do different things. One of the combinations is very specific for brain function and for supporting hormone function in the body, the endocrine system. So what Sunbright actually is It's an energizer, again, in a different way. So one of the things I love about Sunbright is I love Sunbright, and I used to take it like every single day without fail, like I do Body Balance. Now, you know, I do it probably 3 or 4 times a week, depending on how I feel. And I really credit that product as being one of the primary things that got my brain to function again after severe brain injury, because of just how it works. So one of my experiences, everyone's experience is different. One of my experiences with Sunbright is that about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes after I take Sunbright, it's like someone lifted a curtain. I feel happier, I feel more joyful, I feel more awake, I feel more alive, I feel more like, okay, let's go. And it's not a physical energy like I would get with Chaos Gold. It's a completely different thing altogether.
It's brain food.
It's brain food and it's body food. So there is a major hormone in the body called human growth hormone. And human growth hormone is like a mother hormone. It's like DHEA. And human growth hormone has an impact on every function of our organs in our body. So it's connected to all the major organs in the body. It's connected to our liver, our lungs, our heart, you know, our kidneys, our gallbladder, our pancreas, blah, blah, blah. So all of the major organs in our body are connected to the functionality and the production and the ability to utilize human growth hormone. When our body's ability to use human growth hormone starts going down, then all these parts of our body start decreasing their functionality. And that's one of the things that we call growing old. What's really interesting is in the last few years, actually it's probably a little more than a few years now, it was discovered, because it was thought for a long, long time, that like a lot of other things, our body's production slowed down and finally stopped. What was discovered was our body's production doesn't slow down at all. We keep producing human growth hormone till the day we die, even if we're 120. What slows down is our body's ability to use it. So what these particular amino acids in Sunbright do is they allow the body the ability, it's like the food the body needs to be able to keep utilizing human growth hormone. So that's one of the things. The other thing is the functioning of the brain. So the brain functioning is see, the brain needs 3 things to function, to be healthy. It needs amino acids, it needs fat, good fat, and it needs minerals. That's basically what makes up your brain. And so these particular amino acids are specific for optimum brain function. And then we have things in there like ginkgo biloba, which is an herb that is primarily for optimum brain function. And we have a lot of other herbs in there that feed the body in many different ways so that our body's ability to function is optimized. That's great. JD.
So something along the lines, it sounds like we're talking a lot about hormones, and I apologize for the men in the audience, but so what if...
They have hormones too.
Well, okay, but they don't have ovaries, neither do I. So how does that affect, you know, how do these products affect people? Because I do run into people that, you they don't have ovaries, and so how do these products, I didn't know that was so funny. Besides men. How do these products help, not that they take the place, but do they help when, a woman doesn't have ovaries?
The question is, will these products be helpful with women who don't have ovaries? So the answer to that is yes, simply because when the body is compromised in any way at all, the whole system is compromised. So you cannot affect one part of the body without affecting the entire system. And we have products that are like amazing, amazing food for our bodies to be able to function optimally. And so, one of the things that a lot of people are not aware of, actually, is there are other places that a woman's body produces estrogen from. It's not just from our hormones. There are other places that men's bodies will produce testosterone and estrogen, because men produce estrogen too, from. However, what happens when our bodies are degenerating is that those, what's the word I'm looking for? Those other productive bits don't produce. And so when we can get our bodies to function as healthy as possible, then those things can start kicking in again.
I love to share my hormone story because I think it's so important, whether you're a woman or you have mothers, sisters, wives, And I was so fortunate to start taking Body Balance 12 years ago, right at a time when I was getting menopausal, and it totally stopped all my symptoms, my hot flashes, my mood swings, and I just sailed through that time without ever having to experience anything uncomfortable. And but I decided about a year or so ago that I really wanted to know where my estrogen levels were at, because we know there's good estrogens and bad estrogens, and they contribute to breast cancer and other things. And so I did a 24-hour test on my hormones. And when I went in for my results, the naturopath said, "Penny," she said, "you have the hormones of an Asian woman." She said, "Most women in America have 2 bad estrogens for every good estrogen." She said, "You have 2 good estrogens for every bad estrogen." And she said, "I can just about assure you, you will never have to worry about cancer with that profile." And so I said, "Well, what do you think, 10 years of drinking sea vegetables?" And she said, absolutely. There's benefit when we're getting all of those minerals in keeping things in balance. And it's so sad to me that so much of the degenerative disease and cancer and so many of the things that we see are really because our bodies can't function as the miracle they are without getting everything that they need every day. So just for everybody that's drinking Body Balance, it's another reason you can be really happy to take your Body Balance every day.
Yeah. Somebody had a question over here. The other thing, coming back to the hormone piece, that's one of the things I love about our BU program, and we haven't really touched on that very much, is that one of its primary targets is exactly the bad estrogen pieces that we're talking about. So one of the things that the metabolism booster in particular is targeted at, as most of us who are familiar with the product know, is visceral fat, right? Visceral fat is the fat you don't see. It's the fat that starts building up on the inside of the stomach wall, and it migrates. It's what surrounds the liver, what we know as fatty liver. It streaks through our blood vessels, through our muscle fibers. It can surround our heart, all of our organs, and completely disrupt our digestive system, etc., etc. And it produces new neurotransmitters that connect to our brain. It affects brain function. And so one of the things actually that they're discovering now is that one of the primary causes of dementia is visceral fat. And so there's all this study on it right now. So the primary target for our metabolism booster is visceral fat. So the ingredients in there are designed to actually break down and allow the body to get rid of the excess visceral fat that is highly toxic. The reason I'm mentioning that with relation to the hormone thing is that visceral fat produces its own hormones, and it is the origin of toxic estrogen. And so when we see, we see a lot of men with guts, right? They look like they're pregnant. That is excess toxic estrogen produced from visceral fat. So the whole hormonal thing is a huge, huge piece. And we have products that can absolutely assist the body to bring all that back into balance. Anita?
Will you talk about sunset?
Sure, I'll talk about sunset. So sunset was designed to counteract the negative effects of stress on the body in a particular way. So there are long-term effects of stress, there are short-term effects of stress. Initial effects of stress, like getting stuck in traffic and you're late for an appointment and that kind of stress, that's the central nervous system and the adrenals going into overload. So what sunset is designed to do is actually, it's what we call a calmative in herbal talk. And so what it's meant to do and what it's designed to do is actually the phytochemicals are taken up by the central nervous system and they're used to calm down that reaction and to feed into the adrenal glands and to feed into the rest of the body, including the digestive system, actually, so that that reaction doesn't negatively affect the body in the long term. So it's like this is this initial stress, oh my gosh, or I can't sleep, my mind's going round and round, So anything where you actually feel the effects of stress. Sunset is amazing. And we have a bottle in the car, I carry it with me everywhere I go, I've got one beside my bed. So it's something I just take when needed. I can go months without taking it, and then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I mean right now I'm taking it. So, it's just something that as needed. When I take sunset, I feel it in about 5 minutes. And what I feel is that my whole body just completely relaxes. That like this feeling, it's like it just drains away out of my body. I'm still alert, I'm still alive, I'm still on target and on track to whatever I'm doing. But that tension is gone.
Yeah, I love it. I remember one time I was getting ready to speak and I was going to take some Sunbright. And by accident I took Sunset. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, oh no, Sunset. But what I realized, it was so perfect because it did. It just calmed me down and I was so focused. And, so when you get rid of that, it really does allow you to focus. And you know, one of the things when you talk to people, I don't ever think I realized how many people had trouble sleeping until I was really working with these products and talking to so many people. And when people have trouble sleeping, I always first say, you know, do the Body Balance and the OsteoPro-Care, because so often insomnia is a mineral imbalance. And so you want to always go to the foundation. But the Sunset is so fabulous when it's, you know, when you've got that foundation, but you have those occasional nights where your brain won't turn off. I mean, I do keep it by the nightstand too, because it will just literally calm your thoughts right down. So it's great.
Anybody else? I'm not sure how we're going for time. I have no clue. Nancy?
I don't know what our time is this afternoon, but we have an extraordinary group here, and it would be just awesome if we could just all line up and do 30-second testimonies. Boom, 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 boom. It would be amazing on our liquid stories.
Yeah.
And maybe if Manfred could, you know, separate them so they're not all in one long video, but just separate videos of each of them. I just think it would be so powerful. I know everyone in this room has a story. Whether they say, hey, I just heard about this and took my first sip yesterday. They say I've been taking it 19, 18 years. I think it would be powerful if we've got the time to do that.
Okay, let's put that in the hopper and see where we go with that. I mean, that would be amazing
Or
to
tomorrow.
have that. Yeah.
That would be such a good thing.
Yeah, I mean,
that would help all of our businesses.
Great minds think alike, and so do ours. And I think that we can do some of that throughout today and tomorrow, and space it out so it's not all at once. How's that sound?
Yep. So start thinking about what is your story, because no matter how many times we tell our story, we can always refine it, right? We can always get it better. And one of the keys to this business is sharing our stories. You know, this is my experience, because when we're sharing what we're doing with people, the facts and the figures, for the most part, are not what people want to hear. What people want to hear is, what did it do for you? So I can relate, therefore it may do something for me. And so the learning to tell our story in a way that is succinct and powerful is an incredible, incredible tool. So I love that idea. Let's see what we can do with that.
And I think for us, as business people sharing these products, if you ever feel like you need a boost, you just need to share with somebody new and hear their stories.
Yep.
Because that is something we never get tired of. You know, after 12 years, I can hear the story and just get so excited, and it just makes me want to go out and share with that many more people. Because that's really is what it is about, is changing lives in that way. And we have the power to do that, and sometimes you kind of forget, because you know, we're working with our team and with other people, and but boy, when those new stories come in. If you haven't been to Liquid Stories for a while, you know, we did hire someone in Durango that redid it all for us. And there are some great new stories on there. And so if you haven't submitted your story there, please do so for us.
So for those of you who are new, liquidstories.com. And you know, we're just talking about product, but my goodness, people's business stories. You know, same thing. How many people out there are crying out for what we've got, and they don't even know where to look? I mean, you know, we know, right, that the #1 cause of stress on the planet is what?
Money.
Lack of money, right? #1 cause of stress. So everything we're talking about is totally appropriate to the whole picture.
That's right, and the #1 cause of disease is stress.
Right, so I mean, it's like it all ties together. Yeah. Well, that was